Thank you. Almost forgot that. Tashema. We're on the bottom of Tzadi Hayom Beis. So we had this din.
Tzadi Dalet on my base.
Tzadi Dalet. I'm sorry. Thank you. Tzadi Dalet on my base.
Could have fooled me. I would have been right there along.
We could have skipped the dab.
Where's Rachamim been the last week?
Well, he's in Hawaii. He's a little.
Okay.
I don't know if he was there for Shabbos. But anyway, so we had this din from Rav Huna. Rav Huna said that normally there's like there's a buffer zone where you're allowed to have a little dirt mixed in with your wheat, or well, we're going to see more cases now, but you're allowed to have a buffer zone where you're allowed to have enough, a certain amount. Then Rav Huna said, but if the guy gets caught ripping off, then he has to pay for everything, including that buffer zone of the little bit of the allowance that he has of dirt. Once he gets nailed, he loses everything. Like we said, the mashal on Friday, we said, you tell a kid who's trying to be selfish, and you tell him like, okay, now you're getting nothing. Originally you're going to get some, and now you're making trouble. You're out. Right, so that was Rav Huna's shita. So the Gemara bringing all different cases back and forth, rayas and the rayas for him and some kashas against. So now the Gemara tries to bring a raya to Rav Huna. So we need a hakdama to this. So by selling a field, yeah, that's coming up in next week's daf, Be'ez Hashem. When you sell a field, when you sell a base core, which a core is 30 saw, a base core is 30 saw, and you sold it, but the land where you sold, when they actually went and measured, it ended up being more than a base core. So does the buyer get to keep it, or does he have to refund the extra land that was given to him? So the Gemara there says that is a quarter of a kav per base saw, which means 30 quarter kavim he's allowed to keep. More than that is too much. Meaning 30 quarter kav, meaning a quarter of a kav per saw is like that's the buffer that the buyer's allowed to keep. More than that, not. But what happens if it's more than that? So does he have to give back all the land, including the buffer? Exactly the case that we were just saying. Or does he only give back the little bit of extra land until it gets down to the that amount, that extra amount that's allowed, and then that's it. So Tashema, Tani Rabban Bar Rav Nachman, so if he has to give it back, not only has to give back the extra, he has to give back all of the quarters, all of the quarter kab, which sounds exactly like Rav Huna, right? So Rav Huna says once you overstep your bounds, the whole thing gets subtracted, right? So is kulam. When you have to give it back, you have to give back everything. So the Gemara says, Hachiyash is not a raya. Now we start today's daf. Hachiyash, the Hasam, Hein Chaser, Hein Yaser Amalei. There, when somebody sells extra land, he says, I don't mind, I'm getting, meaning he paid. I don't know if this means he said it or it's as if he said it. Meaning, I'm selling you this land, whether it's a little bit less land, a little bit more land, I'm selling you this parcel of land, and he's Michael. Mihu, Revia, Loi Chosher. So that Revia, a quarter of a kav per saw, that's not considered Chosher. But Yeser Revia, Chosher, but more than that is considered Chosher. To keep in the Chazi Leilitz, the Rufe, Betisha Kamen, since you can combine it into a different field of 9 kav, so then then it becomes into an ara chashivta chashav land ba'api nafsha by itself, then you have to give it back. So basically what the Gemara is saying is that once it becomes more substantial than a quarter kav per saw, then that's so much of a substantial plot of land that it could go to, you can attach it to 9 kav of land, and therefore it's yours, and meaning it's the sellers, and the seller would not want to part with all that extra land. So therefore, it's not a raya to anything else, that once you overstep your bounds, you lose everything, meaning you lose all the extra, because there's a specific scenario. Okay, so Toshima, another case. Again, trying to prove Rav Huna, I know. So we know that I know, ripping somebody off. So a sixth is the line of demarcation. So pachas mishtos nitgana mechach. If it's a less than a sixth, meaning if he ripped the guy off less than a sixth of the price, then it's everything goes through, and he doesn't get anything back. If it's more than a sixth, the whole sale is over with, and the guy could ask for a total refund. But if it's exactly a sixth, then he's kainet. The purchase is a purchase, but the extra has to be given back. Right? So Gemara says, "Amai lahadarat pachas mishtos." Why does the whole thing have to give him back? We're saying that the guy ripped you off by a sixth, right? Was a be'erich, or a be'erich 15-16%, right? So we're saying that if he rips you off 25%, then the whole thing is batal. Why? Why not just let him refund you up until a sixth? A sixth he could keep, right? Elamai, it must be Rav Huna's correct. Once you get caught overstepping your bounds, then you lose the whole thing, like Rav Huna. So when it answers, there, when he was selling it, he said he thought that he was selling it shava b'shava, meaning he thought he was paying exactly what it's worth. But if you compare it into a mana, less than a six, you can't really know about it. When a person is meichel, meaning when a person thinks that he's getting the real value for it, up until the sixth, he understands there can be discrepancies. So he's meichel. Shtus yedia, but a six, we would know about it. But like machalinish, and a person is not meichel that. Yes, mishtus mekach taisu. More than a six is mekach taisu, batal mekach, and the mekach is batal. Right? Meaning there's different lines. Once you overstep that sixth line, that means the whole mekach is done. The whole purchase.
So what does the Gemara mean? And he didn't know. What do you mean he didn't know?
No, I don't think it means he didn't know. It means it's not known.
That it's a sixth more?
Yeah, meaning it's hard to figure that out, whether the guy is charging a sixth more. Why? I'm not sure, but it seems so.
That makes sense too.
Yeah, because I think there's so many little fluctuations here and there that, up to a sixth, the guy could see. You might know that it might have cost him a little bit extra to buy it. Prices went up, gas went up.
So how do you ever determine that it's a real I know?
You have to show that you really have a very short window to prove it. You have to go to we learned about Mitzi. You got to go to the experts or to the shuk and see exactly what the price range is. Right?
So if they charge you for an orange juice in Florida, twice as much as it costs in New York, it's labdaf going up.
Correct. I mean, it's complicated. The laws of I know are complicated, but the main teretz that the Gemara is saying is that, meaning we're trying to figure out that it's not a riot to Rav Huna, because we're saying it seems to be a riot to Rav Huna when once you overstep your bounds, you go over that sixth, you lose the whole thing. But no, it's different. You can't bring a riot from I know, because I know the whole sale becomes bottle, so therefore it's out. Right? By Rav Huna, the sale's a good sale. He would just have to give back the extra stuff. Now, why it's a good sale, I'm not sure. It should be the whole sale should be bottle. But I'm assuming the reason why it's not bottle is because all he has to do is take back his dirt and finish. There was nothing changed about the wheat. The wheat is the wheat. He'll have to take back the dirt that he charged him for. Yeah. Last one, Toshima. I'm a kabel sada mechaver lita. If somebody buys a sada from his friend to plant trees, as a hareza makabel, he's makabel on himself. I'm sorry. Raise the makabel of Eser Burius Lamea. He's makabel on himself 10 trees. Burius is trees that can't do anything, meaning barren trees, right? Per 100. There could be 10 dead trees per 100. Yoisimikan, if there's more than 10 dead trees per 100, Magalgal and all of us are called, then we roll everything onto him. Right? Meaning he loses all, he has to provide him with 10 good trees.
Do you understand the case? He's planting 100 trees, and
I don't
10 of
know,
them don't, and 10 of them in the future don't grow, right? Properly.
Right.
So
How many years?
So it's a Davar Shaloi B'Loilim. We're talking about it now. So you want to know if it's a Mekach Tois.
Well, I don't know if it's a Davar Shalom. You paid the guy to plant the trees for you.
How am I supposed to know in 4 years it's not going to grow?
Yeah.
Well, then you're selling defective tree.
How do I know
I'm
it's
saying, but
defective?
it's going to happen in 4 years from now, right? You plant the tree today. When do you know that it didn't grow properly?
3 years from now, 4 years from now.
So then I come back after 4 years.
2
4
weeks
years from now, I
later,
come back and
cleaning.
say it was a mekach tos.
Well, I don't understand what you're saying. Whatever amount of time is, well, what's the difference? How much time there is?
Davar Shaloi B'Loilim.
That's the point. It's Davar Shalom Olam that doesn't have any fruit. Yeah, that's the whole point.
So then why is it?
It's the same tree. It's the same trees the guy sold you. There's nothing grew on it.
How do you know the tree's defective? Maybe it wasn't watered properly.
So that gets back to the whole thing. Yes, that's true. How do you know? You have to examine it.
I'm saying, so how you mavad the whole Mekach?
You have to speak. Yes, and you have to speak to the experts about it.
I sell you a car, and 4 years later, the engine goes. So does that mean that I sold you a defective car? No. Maybe
Again,
maybe
you have to speak to the experts. Maybe the field was no good, and but all things being equal, more than 10 is no good. He's got to give it back. That's
okay.
I don't know how else to. And you're right. If he could prove that his soil was no good, then he won't be responsible.
Maybe there's not enough water put on it.
Yeah, listen, you come to my house, try and plant anything, it won't grow, I guarantee. I don't know what's going on in my soil, but you try and grow anything, it doesn't grow. So whatever, I hear where you're coming from. But anyway, that was the raya. That's a raya to Ravuna, because then he loses. If it goes more, again, he has an allowance of up to 10 trees don't grow. Okay, but if 15 trees don't grow, then the grower has to give back all 15 trees. He has to refund them all 15 trees. Why? Let him just refund 5. So that sounds like Rav Huna. So Rav Huna Ber Rishua, Kol Yesem Mikan Kebal Lita Mitchila Dami. Anything more than that is it's like a whole new field. More than 10 is like a whole new field. Right? Which is basically the sort of same teretz that the Gemara has been giving, that it's not a right. When you have that many trees, meaning if there's so much area that occupies more than 10 trees, so that's almost like he ripped him off a field unto itself. So therefore he has to give him back the whole field.
But he has to replant those 10 trees, and then he has a 10% allowance on those new 10 trees too, or he has to refund.
That's a good point. He probably does have a 10% allowance.
Okay.
I would think, right?
Meaning, he has to replant. Meaning, we're saying he has to refund him, or he has to replant those 10 trees. Then he has a new cheshvan. That's
I think he has to replant it.
Mm.
Why? I don't know. Or
the
can give back the guy. I don't know. I guess he can give back the guy the money. No.
And now the 10%. That means only 1 out of those 10 trees doesn't grow. That's a problem.
Well, I don't know. Does it work in ratio? It's 10 per 100.
Well, but now you only did 10. Now you're only replanting 10. So is it 10% of those 10, or it's 10% of the full? Meaning now 1 goes. How does that work?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know the dinam of this. I don't even know where this is brought. I think it's brought over here. I don't know if this is not the ikr. That's not the ikr sugi of it. Okay, very good. It's a good question. Makes up for Friday. Shine. Good. Now you're good. Okay. Martav shel yayin. So we said in the Mishnah that if you sell a guy a whole wine cellar, then 10 barrels is the allowance to be bad. Right? That's the allowance you have is 10. All right. Now Gemara is going to go through all sorts of variables of what the terminology was. So Hechidami, what exactly is the case? If the seller said, I'm giving you just a martef of yayin, a wine cellar, kasha to kasha. If he says, I'm giving you this cellar of wine, it's also kasha. And if he just says martef zeh, he leaves out the word yayin, then it's also kasha. Meaning those three cases cannot be the cases of our Mishnah. Now the Gemara explains it. The Tanya. The guy says, I'm selling you a martif, a wine cellar. Then he has to give everything has to be not. He has no leeway. Every barrel has to be wine. Right? Because he told him, the Lashon he told him is, I'm selling you a martif of wine. Oh, we should have said this before. Usually wine will turn into vinegar. Right, so that's what he's saying. So it's a martif of wine. He told him a martif of wine means you got to keep your word. You said wine, you didn't say vinegar. Right, martif zeh shel yayin says, I'm giving you this. Then ani marchalach. I'm sorry, martif zeh shel yayin ani marchalach. Noisel yayin hanirkam rechanos. Then he can give him regular standard wine, the way it's sold in a store, which Rashbam says is a wine that's starting to go bad. Right? Meaning it's like in the bar, I guess they have you leave it there too long. I mean, it's like the end user. It's about to go bad. You want the fresh wine, you got to go to the wholesaler. Martev zeh ani marchalav. He says, I'm selling you this cellar. So afilu kulay chaymitz higiu. He said, I'm selling you this wine cellar. You have no idea. You said, okay, you have no, but it could be it was a wine cellar that's full of vinegar. So Mamela, he doesn't, he has to take it. All right, so those are the three cases. Either it's got to be all wine, or it has to be wine that's starting to go bad, right? Or the whole thing could be bad. So then, what's our case of 10 barrels? So the Gemara answers, "Loilam don't matu shalayin stam." He said, "I'm giving you stam." The Tani Bereisha, the Brisa. And we have to say in the ratio of the brisa, makabel alav eser koisus lemeya. Meaning in the brisa, when it says that he sells him martav shel yayin, it has to be kula yayin. It means kula yayin except for 10 barrels. Why? Because it's normal to have 10 barrels of wine that's starting to turn bad. All right, so basically we're changing the brisa. So we're asked if it's stam makabel. And is a person stam, is makabel bad wine? A guy sells a barrel of wine to his friend. He has to give him wine, which is all good. Right? So what does that mean? That means that it's a full barrel of wine that's good, not bad. So my answer, Shani Chavis, the Kula Chad Chamrahu. Chavis is different because it's all one wine. Right? So you're going to say that, oh, I'm buying a barrel off of you. I got to borrow that. I'm buying a barrel off you. I got to buy that full good barrel of wine. Right?
What's the Havamina there?
What do you mean? Now we're changing. 1 second. Let's explain it. We're changing it now. We're saying, when do you have to be makabel? When, well, we're not really changing it, but when do you have to be makabel some bad barrels of wine? That's when you're buying more than one barrel. If you're just buying one barrel, then it could be sour wine. You could have sour wine, right?
But there has to be a possibility for this 10% to kick in. Obviously, if I'm buying one barrel of wine, you can't say a makabel 10% of this barrel could be vinegar. That's an impossibility. So the Havamina was that I would be makabel that it's 10% off. What's the Havamina?
I guess. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
I don't know what that means. 90% of it's good wine, 10% of it is bad.
In one
It's a
barrel, you talking
barrel of
about it,
wine.
or multiple
Yeah,
barrels?
one barrel.
Yeah. You mean, is it possible? You're asking in the Metzias?
Yeah, the Matthias is not possible. What's the
No, we're
Havamina
going to
here?
see on our base. We're going to see on our base that it seems like it is possible that part of a barrel, we're going to see where does the barrel start going bad? Does it start going bad from the top, or does it start going bad from the bottom? So it seems like you could have in a barrel. You could have part of it is bad and part of it is good. I don't know how that works, but maybe the wine drinkers.
We kind of had this with Shmarim back in Bava, I think.
Don't shake it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was my question. I mean, you sell someone a barrel of wine, are they supposed to keep, you cycle them the makom? That they can just leave it where it is, put a spigot in, and start shaking wine in your basement.
Right.
If I have to move it, you have an issue.
I hear. Okay, I don't know. Let's see on another base. Maybe we'll get it clear, but I don't bet on it. Right? Okay, so let's see. Fatani Rav Zvid. So now, this Rav Zvid is going to have his own version of a brisa, because Rav Aishia made brises, right? Rav Zvid said over b'shem the brisa Rav Aishia. Martiv shel yayin ani moichalach. The guy says, I'm selling you a wine cellar. Noisan yayin shekula yafi, has to give him nice, good wine. Martiv zeh shel yayin ani moichalach. Noisan yayin shekula yafi. He also has to give kula yafi. Makabel olav eser koisis man. He has to be makabel on himself 10 barrels per one bad thing. Now, the previous price that said when you say martiv zeh, that means he's stuck with anything there because he told him, I'm selling you this martiv, right? But now this price is saying no, it's got to be wine, but 10 barrels can be bad on top of days. When that's the oitzer that the Mishnah is talking about. Right, our Mishnah says 10 barrels. Right, then that's so. He said right, meaning so. What you see that when he says, "I'm selling you a martif," he doesn't say this martif. There's no allowance for anything. It's got to be fully good wine. So it's a kash on our Mishnah. Ella mastisa nami damar le zeh. Must be the Mishnah also says zeh. Must be he said specifically this one. So therefore he gets 10 barrels. Kasha zeh azeh. So now you have a stira from one brisa to the other brisa. Right? Because one place zeh is you get anything. It's like buyer's keeper. Right? And the other one says that gives you only up to 10 barrels. So it's a stira. It says like kasha. One is where he said that it's wine that's good for cooking, and one is where he said that it's not for cooking. Now, cooking wine, I think nowadays is considered no good. No, it's not a chashuva wine. Cooking wine, is it?
It's not a chashuva wine, but it's still wine. It's a lower quality wine.
They do something now with the cooking wine where they do it with like electric or not on an open flame, and they control the temperature very exact. So there's different levels of bishul of wine, and that's why you have mavushal wine today that actually still tastes good. And I think Chacham Ben Tzona Bashol says like it doesn't hold of it at all.
Right.
It's
There's
not
a lot.
wine.
It's true. There's a lot of poskim that hold it. It's not mivushal, as they say.
Yeah, right. Not at all.
It's
I don't think this means cooked wine. This means wine for cooking with.
Wine for cooking?
Yeah, this is totally different. This is totally different wine. This is cooking wine.
Well,
Right,
what's
but
cooking wine?
They use
What?
different quality grapes, so it ends up a different quality wine. It's a much
you
lower
thought-
quality wine.
you thought it was mavushal wine. That's the thing. No, I mean, yeah, there is such thing as well, but this is wine for cooking, which I thought nowadays cooking wine, nobody's going to drink that stuff. No.
The
Well,
real
it depends on your
chefs say if
standards.
you won't drink it, you don't cook with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, cooking wine is entirely drinkable as wine. It's just a lower quality.
Yaakov, I have a mice about that, but I'm not going to spend time on it. It's a very good,
Well-
very geschmack mice with another gadol with that.
Oh, so I guess we'll
Thank you for leading us up to it and not telling us. Thank you. We appreciate
Byron,
it.
by the time you're done the whole Akdama, you could have said the story.
Okay, so now he's by Baron Schachter's house. Purim afternoon.
It's good. You know, you're supposed to say Gadol Maisim on Motzei Shabbos, last Motzei
Okay.
Shabbos of the year. So
It was 1965, I think. I was in the afternoon, and Reb Aaron was mamish as Yaakov, if you know the line, 3 sheets to the wind already. Okay, there's such a line. You could ask your drinking brothers what that means.
Okay.
Anyway, so it seemed that Robertson put away the mashka already because she was already in bad news at 3 in the afternoon. So he was sitting there, and he was sitting there, Reb Aaron, and all of a sudden, mamish, like a light bulb went off in his head, and he dragged a step stool into the kitchen next to a closet, and he found the bottle of cooking wine from his rabbits in someplace. He knew where it was in the closet, and he got that. He was mamish like the cat that swallowed the canary. He was so excited he got that bottle.
All right, you got to be pretty soused at that point to even get that down.
Yeah.
Well, here, this Gemara is saying that that cooking wine is more chashuv, not less chashuv. I don't know the first thing about it. It all tastes like Drano to me, but that's what this Gemara is saying. Where did he say Hadam related mikvah? So when he said it's for cooking wine, right? So therefore it has to be chashuv wine. And Hadalayam related mikvah. He didn't say it's for mikvah.
I think Toiv over here, Yayin Toiv, doesn't mean it's good quality wine. It just means it's wine that will not turn into vinegar anytime soon because it's used very slowly. It's a lower quality wine, but there's less yeast in it and there's less sugar. So it lasts a lot longer. It won't decompose. It won't
so you're saying it's a lower quality wine, but it should last longer.
Right.
I hear. Okay. I'll take your word for it. So fine. The Razvid, the Amrle Lemikva, by Razvid, he said to him that it's meant for cooking. So Mamela, he's not. If it's meant for cooking, then you can't be having vinegar in there. Bryce, the Amrle Lemikva, but the Bryce, he didn't say it was for cooking. So now the Gemara says,
I think this is one of the questions way back about the mavushal years ago. Not mavushal, blended whiskeys. Because you can put X amount of wine into schnapps, production wise, and not in one bottle, but in big loads, and you change the tax status of it. So they pay a lower tax rate.
You're right. They do that.
Even though it has certain amount of wine in it, it becomes a different tax rate. That was
right. That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
Right. So they'll pump it with wine to knock down the alcohol level, right, or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so now Gemara says Hilkach there from Martav Shilyayin B'Amalei L'Mikvah. If you have a cellar, a wine cellar, and you say that it's for cooking, the whole thing has to be nice. Martav Zeh Shilyayin B'Amalei L'Mikvah says, I'm selling you this Martav, but it's for cooking. Nice and Yayin Shekula Yafa. He also has to give wine that's all good, but a makabel of Esther Kaiser Lameya. Since he said this one, so then he has to accept on himself 10 barrels that could be bad, because it was like he told him, I'm selling you this wine cellar. He should have done his due diligence to try and figure out if in this wine cellar there was some bad barrels. If he says, I'm giving you this wine cellar, and he doesn't say it's for cooking, so he gives him wine that's sold in the stores, which we said on Amid Aleph, or some wine that's sold in the stores is like the end. It's like you take it, make kiddush on it this week, because if you're not going to make kiddush on it, it's going to go bad, right? So those are all the those are all the levels. Now I'm going to ask the shaili boy level. Martif shel yayin v'loy amalei lemikvah. If he said, I'm selling you a martif of wine, but he didn't say mikveh, then my. Right, because right now, again, just to review, we're saying that if he says for cooking wine, it has to be good quality wine. But now we didn't say a din though of what's the story. He just says martif shel yayin, doesn't say mikveh. So then what's the din? So pligi b'ravacha b'ravina, machloikes b'ravacha b'ravina, chadam makabel. He has to be makabel 10%, 10 barrels. Chadam loy makabel, and one says he doesn't have to be makabel. Man damar makabel daik midirab zid. The one that says he has to be makabel, he's medayik it from Rav Zvid the Ketani. Martif shel yayin ani marchala. If he says, I'm selling you a martif of wine, noisin yayin shekula yafa, he has to give him all good wine. Ukimna, and what do we say? The case was the amar le lemikva, where he said it was for cooking wine. So what's the diuk? Time of amar le lemikva. The reason that he has to be accepted is because he said it's for cooking wine. Halay amar le lemikva. But if he didn't say it's for cooking wine, makabel, he has to be makabel it. And the one that says that he doesn't have to accept any bad wine, daik mi brisa, he's going to be daik from the other brisa, not Rav Zvid's brisa. The Ketani martif shel yayin ani marchala. The guy just says, a martif of yayin I'm selling to you, noisin lo yayin shekula yafa. He has to give him all good wine. V'kimna the loy amar leila mikvah. We said that that's Omar where he didn't say it's for cooking wine, so it's mashma that if it's not for cooking wine, then how does it go? Right, so the Amar where the meaning the first part of the brisa is telling you that he doesn't have to take any sort of sour wine. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask now. Each one has a diak, one from the Reish, one from the Sefer. So what does each one do with the other one's diak? So Laman the daik from the Rav Zvid kasha brisa. The one who's daik from Rav Zvid. Okay, but what do you do with the brisa? So chesurim echzer v'achitani is something missing from the brisa. But medvar memurim damar leila mikvah. When is it saying that he's chayiv? That's when he's chayiv to give the whole thing. That's when he said lemikvah for cooking. But he didn't say for cooking. Makabel, he's makabel it. He has to be makabel 10 barrels. Umartiv zeshel yain v'loy amar leila mikvah. And he told him, I'm selling you this what do we call it? Cellar, this wine cellar. And he didn't say for cooking, nice yain and nimkar b'chanos. Then he gives him store level wine. Okay, and then the opposite. Ulaman the daik mibraisa kasha the Rav Zvid. The one that's died from the brisa is a kasha Rav Zvid. Do kimna damar leila mikvah. We said Rav Zvid is talking about what he said for cooking. But we didn't say it's for mikvah, then he's makabel. Meaning he has to accept on himself the 10 barrels. So when it says no, who didn't have the loy mikvah? The same thing would be even if he didn't say. Loy makabel, he does not have to accept any bad wine. So then if that's the case, why are you saying that it's talking about where he said it's for cooking wine? That's mashma that it wasn't for cooking wine, then it wouldn't be a problem. So mashum takasha zeh, because he has that stira from the case of zeh and zeh, right? So mamela, since he had a kasha between zeh and zeh, the way he's going to answer it is by saying that it's talking about where he gave it for cooking wine. Yeah, okay, it's a little confusing, the summer base. I hope I said it over okay. The next Gemara is already a new sugi about brachas. What bracha you make on bad wine. So, we'll stop over here. All right, a good tvach. Tonight's the night where you say a good tvach.
Right.
Then you answer back with a good yar.
Yeah.
It's no good, right?
Right. That's the Maisa with Rav Yosef Chaim. Yeah.
Right. What's the Maisa?
Like you said, and then the two Yidden who he said it to, he was walking with a stecker, Yosef Chaim, he was old, and they heard his stecking on the floor, so they turned around and they see he's trying to catch up to them. So they ran to him. They said, Rabbi, what's this? He says, I didn't fit you in enough. You lynch me on better than me. Yeah.
Right. Meaning this week Rosh Hashanah is on Wednesday night, Bez Hashem. Normally when you give somebody a bracha, you're supposed to give back an extra bracha. So if you go, a guy tells you good vach or shavua tov, so you say good vach, a good yar, which is an extra bracha. Like you should have a good week. I'm telling you, have a good year. Here, a good year is less because it's only 4 more days. The good vach is the whole week till Shabbos. To answer back, a good yar is only 4. You're going with 4 days. So you have to come up with a different answer.
Could you say a good Yorin? Does that mean 2
I
years?
can start with a good yard. Now you can say a good fuck back.
Right, exactly. You go that way, then then you're better off. Okay,
good next
Naftali, you don't
year.
have to go back to every guy that you met tonight.
I already knew this from past years. I already
It doesn't necessarily happen every year, but well, yeah, I guess.
right. I knew about this. So if someone wished me a good vach, I wish him a ksivus tova.
There you go.
If someone says good vach, can I say great vach? It doesn't count.
Higher. All right. Let's say it till him. Yeah. All right. Yud Gimel. Lam natzeh mizmor David. Adon Adonai tishkacheni